tell me a little about yourself, bro. First of all, so we'll get started from here. So, who are you? Where are you from? And what do you do?
So my name's Ammar. I'm from Bradford, and my background's in chemistry and chemical engineering. Spent a few years working in the industry and have now recently transitioned into becoming a science teacher.
Oh, mashallah. We have a massive Bradford posse. Since I have quite a few brothers from Bradford.
It's all the takeaways here that catch up on us.
Do you know on the banner, there's a brother called Usman,
Right.
and he's got Shalwa Kameez on, and then he's really thin.
Yeah.
On the other side. He's from Bradford.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
I'm currently on the program. There's a couple of other brothers from Bradford as well. So,
I think this. Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing that struck out for me with yourself in terms of your running, because a lot of people think that running is going to get them to their toned physique, and you've spoken a few times about how you did a lot of running, you lost some weight, but you didn't get that physique that you were hoping to get.
So 2.5 years ago, I was 87 kilos, and I realized that I need to really start making an effort. And I thought I'd take the approach of running. I didn't really run at the time, and started running, and I saw the pounds drop off. And I'm, mashallah, managed to drop quite a few kilos, lost weight. However, so this was when I was living abroad. When I've come back, people are looking at me and saying, "You look really unhealthy." And like, now that I look back on those pictures, I see what they mean, exactly what they mean. Yes, the scales were showing that my weight was lower than it was before. But in terms of like, because the principles of like, I guess working out wasn't there. I was literally just focused on running 4 times a week minimum. And in terms of food, like I wasn't making healthy food choices. So I was still carrying on eating what I was eating, but then I was eating like 1 meal a day, which is like not really good to do consistently. So I was still eating whatever I wanted to eat. And I thought, I could get behind this. I'm losing weight. I'll carry on running. But it's only when I came across sort of your stuff, the Facebook group, that I realized that I need to start making a change, like proper change. This 1 meal a day thing. Like, so essentially what happened is when I got to a weight I was happy with on the scales, I just kind of stopped. I was like, right, okay, I've done what I need to do. And then that weight crept up. And in the background, of course, your Facebook page was out there, and I was like reading up on it, looking at the free modules and stuff like that. Wasn't actively following it, but I was trying to absorb that information. So yeah, essentially started running, lost weight, got excited. Even though I lost weight, like I said, I wasn't looking the way I wanted to look.
Yeah. So were you saying that, do you mean that when you looked unhealthy, you looked gaunt?
Yeah.
Gaunt,
I mean, I've
low
got
body weight.
Yeah.
Low body weight, but still the fat percentage was still on the high side.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly that.
We term that metabolically obese normal weight.
Right.
So the body fat percentage is high, but the muscle, your normal weight and your muscle mass is low, and that tends to happen. Sorry, I should know this. How old are you again? Sorry, bro.
30.
30. Yeah, and I mean, we caught you at a good age. After 30, what tends to happen is we tend to lose about half pound of muscle each year, or some say even as early as 27, and then we start to gain about a pound of fat. So when people get to 40, they tend to have a high amount of body fat, but they're still the same weight on the scale as they were when they were 10 years younger. So in their heads, they don't realize that they actually need to lose fat and build muscle mass, and then they've lost quite a significant amount of muscle mass, because there's a principle that we call, if you don't use it, you lose it. And if you've got a sedentary job and you're not making use of those muscles, they're just going to wither away. So how did you first come across me then on Facebook, you said?
Well, we've been Facebook friends for a number of years, and then just seeing your posts, I saw what you were doing with your Facebook group, and I joined that, I believe, 7 or 8 months ago, or whenever, I don't, maybe 6 months ago, something along those lines.
Yeah.
It was like in the latter part of last year, and I went through those modules. I think we interacted a few times as well on that page. End of last year, I thought I need to start doing stuff properly, because your content, the stuff that I could tell that you put hard work into sorting everything out. So I thought I'll take the step of sort of joining the paid program.
Yeah.
And if your free program, if this is what you're offering in your free program, in-depth stuff, which I've not seen. Like, I've seen some people do certain, like a few things here and there, but the depth that you've gone into, even in your free one, that's one of the biggest things that sort of pushed me to go and sign up for the actual paid program.
Yeah, I think that the conversation we had was where you said, look, I am consuming it, but I'm not consuming it as much as I would have had I paid for it. And because obviously I haven't paid for it, I'm finding
it was just in the background. I'd read it and stuff. I'd look at the post, but it's like, right, it's free. It's like with anything, you don't really value it as much.
Yeah, so you felt that the commitment wasn't there, the accountability and the risk wasn't there for you. So I've got nothing to lose. If I go through it, I go through it. If I don't, I don't. I've got nothing to lose. There's no skin in the game, as they say.
Yeah.
So when you first signed up with me, what did you have any doubts or anything like that, or what was going through your mind?
In all honesty, honestly speaking, it was just getting. The doubts I had was just getting motivated myself, to be honest. Like, just motivating to eat properly, make proper food choices, and sort of make that happen consistently. And in terms of getting the workouts in, because going from not doing that to all of a sudden sort of thing, I was a bit not skeptical, but I was like a bit hesitant, I guess, to say that I will be able to commit in that sense.
Yeah. You were hesitant whether you'd be able to commit.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons people are very hesitant is because they assume that I'm going to give them 3-hour-long workouts, 2-hour-long workouts. And don't get me wrong, I worked with coaches that do that. They literally, like, they get awesome results, but it's so rigid.
Yeah.
Like, they're told you have to have, and this is no joke, this is going to become a real surprise. They're told that they have to have steak, like a 3-ounce or whatever ounce steak for breakfast, right? With 100 grams of broccoli, and they have to drink at 11 a.m. They have to drink 1 liter of water, and at 2:30 p.m. they have to drink another liter.
Sort of like proper military thing.
Really military style. And they have to train exactly this many hours, and they've got to jog for this many, they have to go running, they have to do cardio for 40 minutes. It's so rigid. Don't get me wrong, people get an awesome result from that, but at the end of it, they totally burn out. They totally burn out and see them rebound really badly. It's not a sustainable approach. And I think a lot of people assume that to get results, you have to do that type of thing. And so
and that's why I was hesitant initially, in terms of like,
and just as you are, a lot of people I get that a lot, and I have to try and explain that I'm not going to expect you to do 2-hour-long workouts. I'm not going to.
And now that I've done this 12-week program, like, I can genuinely look back from the first week up until the last week. The approach that you put me through was like, try to make it into a habit, everything, whether that's your food, your workouts, getting your steps in to make sure there's some sort of activity. And it's the approach that you've taken, like, it allows you to build habits over time, rather than first week just saying, right, this is what you're doing every single day, even with the food as well. Like, you're not, you didn't get us to count sort of calories from day one, and you've always said, even when we started counting calories, that it's like, you'll sort of it'll become second nature to you. However, what you want to achieve from counting calories is more of trying to be conscious of
Awareness.
awareness of what you're eating.
I think I use that phrase. I'd like it to be calorie conscious, not calorie obsessed.
Yeah.
So just be aware of calories. And to be honest with you, you've got people like Amjad who still don't count calories. I don't count calories personally. And I know many clients of mine, they don't at all. They use the kind of portion control methods that we teach. And with each one of you, you'll have recalled me saying as well that you don't have to count them if you don't want to, and choose the path that is right for you.
100%.
Here are a number of paths.
Yeah.
Pick the one. You can even try them out. I'm there to guide you, and I will tell you if that's working for you or not, and help you along and decide. And then, test them out. Find the path that you like and you see as sustainable for yourself, and stick to that. And I'm able to tell you if that is going to help you reach your goal. Like if you've got one of the things that I like to make business references because I'm in that world. And one of the things that some of my coaches told me in terms of business, they said to me that well, if they're looking at a certain revenue model, they say they look at the model and say, does that model support that revenue? Yeah. And sometimes the model doesn't support what the outcome that you're looking for. Yeah. And similarly with weight loss as well, certain approaches support certain outcomes. If you want to get stage ready and being a song on stage, you need to take a much more rigid approach. Yeah. But 99% of dads that come to me, that's not their goal. Yeah. So in terms of your experience, you shared some of it. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about your experience?
I think one of the things that really stood out for me was the fact that, of course, you're doing this online, but it didn't feel like I was out of touch with you. Like that support was always there, whether that's me messaging you and saying, asking you about food choices, whether that's sending you videos of me doing a particular workout and saying, look, how am I getting on with this? Is this okay? And then obviously you've on a couple of occasions you corrected some told me to make some tweaks. So I think that was amazing. And like if I was not on this sort of program where this support is given, I would have really struggled because like you're aware, I hit my weight loss target from this program like approximately halfway through the program and continued to make some losses after that. But in between all of that, for like 6 weeks of the program, I had limited access to a kitchen. 2 weeks I had zero access to kitchen, and I was worried, and I messaged you as well. And like your constant reassurance and just giving me alternatives on here is what you can do if you do need to get something from outside because you like for food wise because you can't fit because you don't have access to a kitchen. Here's how to make it work. Here's how to make conscious choices. So if I was on a program where that wasn't given, I would have struggled. Even though I lost my goal weight within like first 6 weeks, half of that I may have put back on by the end of the program. Yeah. I look back and I think maybe halfway through, or when I started having these renovation work going on, I was thinking maybe I should have delayed this program to a bit later until that was finished. But now that I'm looking back and I think, you know what, just going through that and having your support and you advising me has taught me a lot as well. That no matter what the circumstances are, if your motivation level is there and if the program and the guidance is right, you can absolutely make this work.
Yeah, if wherever there's a will, there's a way. I mean, I 100%. Certainly believe that. I certainly believe if somebody really has the desire, I'm able to give you a solution. Like there's many paths to the same destination. And alhamdulillah, I'm very much aware of the various ways, and I can make anything work for almost anyone, as long as, I mean, like that key thing has to be there. There has to be a desire from your side, and you have to pull your weight. If you never responded to me at all, and I messaged like, how's things going? You never responded. You never told me what was going on, and you just completely ghosted me. then that would never work.
Yeah.
But because the desire was there, as long as somebody has the desire, I don't care how much somebody's struggling. I don't care how much they're struggling. If there's a will and there's a desire, like, I won't give up on them. And I always say this is, look, as long as you don't give up on yourself first, I'll never give up on you. The only time I'll give up on somebody is if they've given up on themselves.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, I was going to say that overall through the program, like we've been in regular contact in the groups, and one-to-one contact as well. But in between, when I had all this renovation stuff going on, there were a few, like, I think we went a few days where I hadn't messaged you, and you were constantly sort of still checking in on me to make sure it was all good, make sure I'm giving my weigh-ins and stuff like that. So that support, I believe, is invaluable. And one of the things, like, I was thinking before making this commitment was that, will this work online? But like I've said, for the reasons that I've mentioned, that it's worked for me, it's worked for the other brothers that that have joined the group, and mashallah, I've got to know the brothers as well. So that sense of community that you've created through the Facebook page for the paying members, and also the group, the instant messaging group that's there as well, that motivates you as well, because the motivation levels fluctuate. Like you said, you need to have that desire, but the motivation levels fluctuate. But sometimes I log into the group, and I've seen one of the brothers post a picture of the healthy meal, or even saying, "Oh, I've done my morning workout," or "I've completed my full workout," or stuff like that. That sort of on a few occasions through the program has got me thinking, like, right, I need to get up now and I need to make this happen. Like, rather than saying, like, especially early on in the program, rather than saying I'll do it later, it wasn't for that approach of yours, like, of building habits consistently over time. I think by second week I would have just thought, you know what, this is too much.
Yeah, of course. And I think sometimes some brothers demand that of themselves, and I tell them, look, back off, like, pull away.
I've seen that especially with the latest batch of brothers that have joined. There's some really enthusiastic brothers on there, and you've had to tell a couple to chill out, because otherwise it'll get, like, it's good to see that motivation level and that desire is there. But obviously through your experience, that people end up burning themselves out with everything. Like, you take a new hobby up, I don't know, someone decides to learn a language. In the first few weeks, they'll be studying 3-4 hours a day. And then after that, it just becomes non-existent. Whereas if, taking that language learning as an example, if you put in 20-30 minutes a day and then build on that, it's much more sustainable in the long run.
I think one thing you touched on as well, you said tweaking. You tweaked your food. I didn't say, well, you have to cut out this and cut this out and cut that out, and you can't eat this and you can't eat that. We tweaked your food. And then the other great benefit of the community was, I give you recipe guides, but then I tell you, look, make it your own. You don't have to have these. And then 100%. Brothers, like, even you shared lots of recipes, and that collective mind makes it super powerful, because everybody brings their perspective and 100%. Their little touch and element. So there might have been, like I'm not a big fish eater, and you said to me, and I thank you for this as well, because this is how I believe that you brothers bring so much more value to the program. And I was speaking to Danielle about this yesterday. He asked so many questions, and I built stuff into the program. You asked me about, you said there's not enough fish dishes. So then I created some, and that's because I'm a boring person when it comes to food. So even though I have my Desi food, it's mainly a lot of chicken. I don't eat beef. I don't eat fish except battered fish, and it's fried from the chippy. So I think by you asking for those things, I brought it in. But then other brothers, you see other brothers making their own recipes. They take the philosophy and the principles and they apply it.
And that's one of the benefits, like I said, about the community feeling that you're creating as well. And just while we're on the topic of the recipes, like, what I absolutely love is these recipes that I've tried. Obviously, I've not tried every single one of them. The recipes I've tried over this program that you've created, and then like you said, from the input of brothers, but you've added extras as well. They're not they're not recipes that make you think, oh, I'm not looking forward to my dinner tonight because I don't like what I'm going to have. These were like genuinely like tasty dishes, to the extent that my missus, who isn't trying to lose weight, who doesn't need to lose weight, sort of thing, like she's been having the stuff with me as well. So it's not like you think, oh, it's hospital food, which is a common, I guess, phrase, you know, for like when someone's on a diet and stuff like that. It's actually really nice food. And then, like you said, you give that flexibility of, right, this is just a guide. You can build upon that. You can modify things, and I've done that, and sort of with many of the dishes or many of the recipes. So it's absolutely lovely. And another excellent thing is you won't find anyone's program, I guess, not that I've come across anyway, that will say, right, you're okay to have your curry. So as Asians, obviously South Asians, that's important for us. And you know that the recipes for the curries that you've incorporated as well, it's good. And having these options available, I think, is one of the things that makes it sustainable long term.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if you tried it. There's one in there that is an absolute replica of British Indian takeaway curry.
I've seen it, but I've not tried that one yet. No.
You have downloaded the PDFs, right?
Yeah, I've got them all. Yeah.
Brilliant. So do try that, because you are going to get blown away. I'm telling you.
I will try.
It's only got 1 tablespoon of oil.
Yeah.
And you'll be so surprised that it's only got 1 tablespoon of oil. And then after that, you never need to get takeaway like greasy takeaway curries.
Yeah.
And this is it stands in there at the top of them. Now, so how much weight have you lost in total?
In total, so I set out to lose. I wanted to lose just under 6 kilos. So we went for rounded up to 6 kilos. Like I said, within the first sort of half of the program, I managed to achieve that. That's when things with my house and stuff started going a bit haywire. And at the end of the program, I'm at 8 kilos down. So considering that I've had all these sort of, I don't want to say obstacles, because we started challenges yet, but we worked together and you know sort it out. And people at work, because I returned to work on in early March for the first time since I started this program, and people at work were sort of commenting that I'm looking good, looking healthy, and even people that I've seen, bumped into local who live local to me. The amount of comments I've got is crazy, and this is in lockdown when I'm not even seeing many people. So these kind of things, like especially when I was sort of halfway through the program and going through these challenges of all the housework and stuff going on, these comments are what kept me going, because I messaged on the group. I don't know if you remember, sort of halfway through the program, and I said, "Oh, I've bumped into my uncle after a while, and he's commenting on my weight and stuff, and he says I'm looking good, and carry on doing whatever you're doing and stuff like that." So people actually noticing that change gives that extra boost, especially when these challenges come up, which inevitably people will have their own challenges. But these kind of things, it just shows you that when you're consistent, it actually works. And the other thing, I know you brought my running and stuff up. So when I lost weight through running versus this approach here, now I've not been 100% consistent with the workouts because of various reasons. But the workouts I've done and the periods through the program, the weeks through the program where I was consistent with my workouts, I could definitely see a change for the better, body shape and stuff like that. I can definitely notice it. And even though I'm at a quite similar weight to when I lost weight through running, when I look back at my pictures now, the current pictures and then pictures from then, I can definitely see that I look a lot better, a lot healthier compared to that. And this is what you said to me. And I'll be honest with you, I was skeptical at the time, right at the beginning of the program. I was skeptical. You were like, look, I was thinking, even if I get down to that weight, I'll look exactly the same as I did then. But you know, we worked together. You worked with me, and alhamdulillah, I've not only dropped weight to weigh the lowest I've weighed probably since I started university, which was 12 years ago.
Oh wow!
I've also developed habits that, inshallah, I'll continue to sort of hopefully become second nature now. Whether that's with food or whether that's with workouts, you know, everything like that. What's absolutely amazing is, I keep saying that, but because there's just so many things, but one of the other things that absolutely like makes me just look back at these 12 weeks and just think that this has been achieved through eating properly and without access to a gym. Only my first two workouts through this program was at the gym, because after that we entered a lockdown. So the very first two workouts of this year, I think it was 1st January and 3rd January, were at the gym for me. All other sort of workouts I've done are home workouts, and like we've seen the effort you've put in to sort of create these workouts as well, and you sort of tailor them to the person's needs as well. So it's phenomenal to see that like other people have achieved as much as I have, and some brothers even more, which is great. You know, through the lockdown period, that's what just sort of amazes me.
These habits, you continue to build on them, and they'll last with you for the rest of your life. Even at 50, you now know. And the way I would look at it is like, you now have the keys. Like, you now have the key to unlock fat loss, and you know exactly what to do. Even if you veered away from it, you know that what works. You know what works, and you know what to do. But inshallah, because you're still eating your normal foods, because it doesn't require you to be in the gym 3 hours a day, there's no reason why you can't sustain it, unless you just completely didn't give a crap about your health. It's really easy to sustain. So in summary, how would you say your life has changed?
I'd summarize, I was saying, for the better, alhamdulillah. But going into specifics, like going back to helped me develop habits that are sustainable, and like I now know that I can be at a healthy weight, look good, not give up the stuff I like eating, curries and stuff like that, through the recipes and other delicious stuff, and I don't need to give up all of that. I can still eat delicious foods and work out without even a gym. Obviously, a gym access is a lot better, and you know, you can see results a lot sooner. But the way I see it, if I've done it at home, then you know, I did exactly.
So, in terms of your confidence, how has it affected your confidence? Do you feel more confident?
Alhamdulillah, I feel a lot more confident. So, the very first walk I was going to go out on through this program, like I was literally just going to go for a couple of mile walk. I put on a t-shirt that's a working out t-shirt, and I just took it off because I wasn't going to go out in that, because I was like literally just fat hanging out for, you know, stuff like that. I just refused to go out in that. I found another shirt, put that on, and went out. So I was embarrassed to go out in that. And now I wear that shirt, and I'll actually do a before and after. I've got a picture in that shirt from beginning. I'll wear the same shirt, and I'll take another picture and send it to you. Now that I wear that shirt, I just I'm like, right, that's fine. I don't need to throw a jacket on top. I'm going out like this, weather permitting. So I think that summarizes my confidence.
And you mentioned about how your wife was eating some of the food that you cooked, and she's not even on it, either trying to lose weight. So how have you found that it's like affected your relationship, the whole process?
You know, previously when I've tried to eat better, like before getting married and stuff like that, I was finding that the foods that but I was finding online, this diet guide, that diet guide. I was isolating myself from what everyone else was having, at home. Whereas now, me and my wife have been able to sort of sit down together, eat the same stuff, and alhamdulillah, it's absolutely amazing that we were able to do that. Otherwise, I think, to answer your question, had it been the case where I was just having sort of boring food and stuff like that, she probably wouldn't get on board of having the same stuff as me. And I think that could have a negative impact massively. Because for many people, sitting down at the dinner table or, wherever you eat is probably, especially in this day and age, probably not so much in the current climate, but, for many people, that's the only time you actually sit down and bond over how your day has been and, various different life things. And just to be able to do that has been great, I think. Just that I'm not isolating myself from my wife. I guess we can just sort of eat whatever together, and it's amazing.
Yeah, because I think we touched on this yesterday on your last night's coaching call. We spoke about this, that carbohydrates tend to be a large part of our culture, and one of the ways Asian families socialize is over food. Like we tend to have a lot of dawats and things like that.
Yeah.
And even for the average person, when they're following a diet food, they have to be a little bit. They feel a little bit isolated.
Yeah.
And they have to be the diet guy who doesn't eat anything. Now, if you're Asian, that's exasperating because our foods are so much more greasy, so much more carbohydrate dense.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like a case of meat and potatoes or, veg and a steak. It tends to be a lot more about Asian foods. And whenever I've spoken to people who have tried diets, and they said that was one of the most difficult parts, is that they couldn't participate in family gatherings. Like there was nothing they could eat at all. Like so, and I said, and this is why also I'm a massive anti-keto guy. Like I say, look, keto, it just does not work for us, for our people. Even if you did manage to lose weight off it, when you're gonna have to come off it at some point. Otherwise, you just have to be a non-Asian.
Yeah. And that's why the educational component is so important and it's been so beneficial throughout this. Like, it's not just a case of do this, it's the case of this is why we should do this. Or this is why we are doing this. I found myself, since I started this program, using Facebook a lot more, like logging onto it on my phone a lot more, purely to communicate, on this group and see what's going on and stuff. So it's an amazing part of this, because I don't feel like throughout the program I didn't feel like I was on my own. Like just seeing other people's motivational posts, and then sometimes just seeing people post what they've struggled with helps massively as well. That's
what I'm going to keep it there, because I want like people who've achieved and they can share their tips and perspectives to be there and help the others. So you'll be there and we'll be communicating anyway. Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure coaching you as well. And Matt, I think I've taken up enough of your time.
It's been a pleasure.
Honestly, I really appreciate this. Thank you very much for this.